might have heard that Apple announced some new things. They talked about how there's a brand new iPad that's real nice, and you can plug a keyboard into it, and it's got a stylus, and it. What's the Surface Pro? I don't know. Oh, but the new Apple iPad's pretty cool. They also talked about the brand new Apple TV, which is a big step up. It's got some pretty cool stuff going on. Here's sort of a picture of the new controller up there. I have a better one on my screen here. Alongside something that's a little bit interesting, it's going to have some gaming support. The new Apple TV is going to be basically supporting a lot of kind of I don't know if it's iOS or if it's going to be like a special format, but they pretty much, for the first time really ever, Apple in a keynote was like, hey, we're getting some games, and oh, by the way, you can get a controller. Like,
so that's the interesting thing about this. We go back to this controller. First of all, it's called Nimbus, which is a fun thing to call your friend when you're mad at him. Secondly, this is a third-party controller. We've seen that kind of support on things like the iPhone and the iPad before, where there's actually third-party controller support. The Amazon Fire TV box, or the stick, also you can buy a controller for that separately. It's kind of like an Xbox 360 controller. So these guys are taking baby steps. This is the first time Apple's sort of been like, here's kind of a thing other than a touchscreen controller. Like this comes with a Wii remote, basically, that you can play motion controls on.
Yeah, and alongside this, it was also announced that you're like, okay, so whatever, mobile games are going to come to Apple TV, whatever. We play Angry Birds. Except then they announced Guitar Hero Live and Disney Infinity 3.0, which is kind of shots fired. That's kind of a big deal. I know that we, as gamers and owners of such reputable consoles as these fine boys here.
Look how yellow this one's getting, by the way. I really love that old consoles just got.
No, he's not showering a whole lot. Anyway, like we obviously love video game consoles because they are dedicated for playing games. That's why we're here. That's why we have fun. A lot of people out there, if let's say you're a parent, like you want to buy a machine for your living room. You got a kid. Your kid wants to play some games. He wants to play Disney Infinity. He wants to play Angry Birds, whatever. He wants to play some dumb kid stuff. And you have the option to pay $500 for $400 Xbox One, PS4, and they're like, yeah, I want that. It's got that kind of thing. Or you can get an Apple TV, and that plays all your iTunes library. It's got all your albums you bought for the last 10 years or whatever. Yeah. You can get your favorite video shows, podcasts on it.
This man bun is really just messing with
Let's get these out of here.
Let's get these guys out of here. Get a job.
But like, if you have that option, if you have something you can watch HBO on that doesn't cost $500, and it's like, it's fairly accessible. It's a familiar interface. Sorry, it's not. It's kind of a no-brainer there, and it's. I don't know. What do the fine folks on the internet make?
So we asked Twitter: is Apple TV a threat to game consoles? BY2K says, ha 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 ha. No.
Okay.
Robert A. Peterson says, you may as well be asking: is Flappy Bird a threat to Metal Gear Solid 5? I like that. A little snark in the morning. Get a hot cup of snark across the street at the coffee shop. Just dump it all over my face.
What if Metal Gear Solid 6 is a mobile title?
God, I hope not.
Yeah, brain busted.
And Jay Paris says, not in the slightest. So nobody's really worried about this. I think you kind of should be. Yeah. So obviously consoles are selling better than they've ever had before. Like the PS4 is selling ridiculous amount of numbers. It's outpacing pretty much every video game console ever made. I don't think it poses a specific threat to gaming, set-top boxes that are dedicated for those kind of things. But I think, Max, you're onto something. Like having this sort of Trojan horse box in your apartment or your house that your kid can walk up to and start flailing a thing around and playing video games in front of kind of might cut out a few sales of a video game console you might have bought for them. Now, really, it depends on how well they're able to say, if you bought a game on your phone, say you have Angry Birds or whatever, now you can play it on your TV, no problem. We did see some limitations. There's a 200 megabyte limitation on apps, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
That's pretty low.
But if you think about do you remember Xbox Live Arcade had a very small, it was like 512 megabyte limitation, which actually created sort of a bottleneck, which made people create new games for it.
Sure.
It's difficult. There's going to be some hurdles.
That's also totally irrelevant if we're going to see a future of streaming games, cloud gaming.
Yep.
That's something we've all kind of talked about. There's, PlayStation Now? Is that it? Is that the one? PlayStation Now? I get it mixed up with PlayStation Go and PlayStation Live and PlayStation PlayStation Eye or whatever.
People are mad about this because they want, like, Apple is a good villain. Apple's a kind of like these guys come up and they have like turtlenecks on.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're here to take over the future and show you what yesterday
means tomorrow. The world is not enough.
Yeah, and it's just like, this is the best thing since the last thing. Like that's their whole marketing.
Well, also,
and, it's terrifying. They're old. Remember their old the old kind of Apple commercials of the guy running in and like breaking the TV screen or whatever and stuff like that. Like very 1984.
Sure.
It's kind of scary to think this global conglomerate is making consumer devices that are sort of happy and enjoyable, and you need to buy a new one every year. And they come into your house and they play your Jethro Tull albums if you're a dad, and you can watch Paddington Bear and be like, "Who's the name of that bear?" And they tell you in case you're an idiot and you can't read the title.
That bear was played by a little British woman. They put her in a suit and she looked unhappy.
So it's scary. It's scary to think that these things are sort of taking over the world, but they're also pretty good products. Like you and me are both on Macs right now. I have an iPhone right here.
Okay.
I'll play video games on the TV.
Right.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about them as they slowly take over the universe.
Brian will be getting a $25 iTunes gift card for defending them.
Today we are sponsored by Horse Boots, not Apple.